Hello and welcome to another episode of the Digi-Tools and Accrual World Podcast. I'm delighted as always to be joined by Indi and Ryan, my co-hosts, and we're just coming off the back of our awards, which hopefully have been absolutely amazing. Of course they've been amazing. We know they have been, even if we recorded this before the awards have happened. Who cares? There's tons of news to catch up with. We've got a great interview coming up as well. So let's get into it. Indi, how the devil are you doing? Are you busy? You have a good weekend?
I'd like to say I've recovered from the awards, but I'm anticipating that I haven't. So, unfortunately, no. I'm still tracking my sleep, and it seems that magnesium on the feet does seem to work.
Yeah.
However, I will say that I don't think it's accurate anymore because it just keeps on saying that I'm in light sleep the whole time. And I know that I'm dreaming because I'm having multiple dreams throughout the course of the night. But then it will say, no, you didn't sleep at all and have deep sleep or REM sleep. So I'm quite sure.
What are you using to track it?
Whoop. Whoop, whoop.
So what you're saying is the magnesium is interfering with the sensors in your Whoop.
I'm not wearing the Whoop on my feet, Ryan.
Maybe it's like magnesium overdose. Maybe that's what it is.
I actually think I haven't got enough magnesium because I think that the skin might be acting as a barrier.
Oh, what?
You're
like
just
I
going to
said,
inject
in the
it.
first place. No, surely not. Surely this scientific fact that I talked about, surely that's not the case.
Like fact with no backing. Fact.
Well, anyway,
Okay.
Look, I think that I've done some different experiments of my own, and I think I'm pretty confident. I'm getting to really grips with how to get to the deeper sleep, and I actually think that a lot of it is to do with a book that I started reading. It's called Breath or Breathe. I'm not sure actually how to pronounce it, but one of the things that it says is that we have lost the use of our nasal cavity because at night we're breathing too much with our mouth. So I think that actually one of the reasons I'm not getting to the right amount of deep sleep or being recognized for my REM sleep is because I need to tape my mouth. So
Okay.
that's the next experiment.
I thought that's why you were doing more teabagging.
I don't know what that means, John. Can you elaborate?
Yeah, it's basically when you make a cup of tea, you've got to hold your breath as you scoop it out of the cup and then give it a good squeeze as well because you want to get every last drop.
Is this a northern thing? Another northern tradition that's
Must be
like
northern.
It's a Yorkshire tea
You guys
thing, I'm
like
sure it is.
bags there, and you do make a good cup of tea. God damn it! I can't wait to receive my first cup of tea at Accountex from you, John.
Just don't ask him to teabag you as part of the demonstration.
No intentional plan to do that.
Do you not hang your tea bags out on the washing line to recycle them?
Do you know? I've thought about this. That's what they used to do, John, wasn't it?
It is indeed, yeah. Still do it up here.
Anymore?
Problem is it's a bit rainy, so you get damp tea bags then, don't you?
Can you put them in the tumble dryer?
Oh, that's a thought, isn't it?
I
A
mean,
bit like those like washing pigs or whatever they call them, it's sort of
Washing
helps-
pigs?
Supposed to help your clothes dry quicker.
Pigs.
I think they're called, what are they, washing pigs or something like that?
Ryan,
That's a
have
bit
a have you? Come on, Ryan. Sorry.
I'm good. Yeah, I am guessing I'm hungover at this point. It's really hard to predict how we are just after the awards. But no, I'm good. I'm excited or happy about the winners, depending on what context or timeline I'm in at this given point. But no, yeah, buzzing about anything awards related.
And you pulled one out of the bag by winning as well, Ryan, didn't you? Release
Oh, that was amazing. Especially for the award I wasn't nominated for. I mean, that was amazing.
Well, John and I wanted to make sure that you were celebrated this year.
By someone, at least.
Yeah, the BWAM of the year. What's the acronym, Ryan?
Bald, white, angry man. 2025, that's what I'm going for. That's what I'm going for. I think that should be our new category in 2025. The bald, white, angry accountant of the year.
Yeah, BWAM.
Bwah.
Maybe like that.
As we're smoking on our pipe or cigar. Bwah.
Well, maybe that should be our next wooden spoon category, because the ditch water seems to have received a lot of attention, hasn't it, guys?
It's been very
Does,
controversial.
Yeah, we have obviously tried to represent as many of the apps in the industry in the most positive way, but it goes without saying that it's kind of helpful to talk honestly and openly about some of the things that didn't go according to plan. And
That's how we learn.
anyone that knows us and knows this podcast knows that we're going to talk about some of the things that don't really work in the app's favor. So hopefully we don't cause too much offense with it, but I think it's actually fair because the judges who helped us convene and decide on the winner did so based on the merit of their experience and feedback, and actually it was quite noisy, wasn't it? So I think we did a good job identifying that.
Yeah, I'd agree. And I think sometimes you've just got to be honest with the marketplace and call out bad practices and things that haven't gone particularly well. And I think the people that have been nominated and the people that will win the award, I think there's a very there's a marked difference between those who are nominated and have maybe corrected things and those who are not that app vendor that will win the award who hasn't gone about things particularly well. Maybe to extend this out, we should go for like the disinfluencer of the year. Next time, the person like the snake oil salesman or woman who just basically takes people for a ride in our industry.
Oh, see, I liked when you said disinfluencer. I thought it'd be someone that has no influence. No one listens to them whatsoever. They're literally trying to be heard, and everyone's just going, nah.
That'd be you, Ryan. Oh,
yeah, okay, it's me. Yeah, it's true. Yeah, it's me.
Screaming into the void.
Everyone just looking the other way.
It's just like randomly taking baby pics off Google to post on your LinkedIn so you get good impressions.
I mean, this has now got a weird, very weird, John.
Should we crack on what that means?
Yeah.
I have something from Intuit, who has accelerated their development velocity with enhancements to their proprietary Gen AI operating system, Gen OS. And it sounds like they've made some big steps to now include Gen OS AI Workbench, which is a dedicated development environment for end-to-end application development, and enhancements to Gen Studio, Gen Runtime, and Gen UX components. So what does that mean? Practically, they've enlisted the support and help of a number of different businesses and small business customers, consumers, to then help design and build and deploy different forms of generative AI into their platform. And the new Gen OS AI Workbench and enhanced Gen OS components include an LLM leaderboard, so a tool for quickly identifying the best LLMs for specific use cases based on benchmarks and tailored to Intuit domains, i.e. consumer tax, personal finance, small and mid-market business accounting and marketing. And there's also a structured method for comparing LLMs. So those including model cards with brief descriptions to help technical and non-technical members of product development teams to understand the context, performance, and applications for which an LLM may be the best match. There's also prompt management. So it helps developers create, iterate, and deploy prompts faster throughout the Gen AI development process. And again, it's a systematic way to provides a systematic way to store, version, retrieve, manage, and templatize prompts, which is helpful because obviously if you're building a library of those, it's easier to have those stored somewhere and manage them throughout the team. Evaluation service, and so that you can look at the quality, latency, cost of a wide number of metrics that helps the product team then experiment, develop and optimize and deploy and monitor user experiences, and then prompt flow traceability. And there's also a sandbox for Gen Studio that is been included for developers. Interesting to see that over the past year, Intuit has also included a number of different AIs into, or LLM, into what they're rolling out. So Anthropic Claude via AWS Bedrock, Gemini from Google Cloud, and Mistral from Mistral AI and a few others. I like the way Intuit are broaching this and saying we need to be responsible guardians for how AI is used in the platform and what their role will be in deploying that into their various products. So a very concerted effort for how they want to go about it, and it encompasses the best in class in terms of the different LLMs that are out there. And it sounds like they've got a really structured approach to how they want to deploy that. So big steps, I think, from what they're saying is 100 million different customers, consumers and business customers have been involved in trying to build this portion of what they're doing with GenOS out.
Well, in summary, it sounds like they've released a lot of tongue twisters. That was a lot of very long and technical words, wasn't it? But essentially, my understanding is they've doubled down on all their AI that we talked about. They were releasing a huge number of employees, bringing in a whole lot more. This, I guess, is the first part of their, next phase from all these new employees building out the generative AI tools. And for, I guess, reference, this is in the TurboTax platform, Credit Karma, QuickBooks, and MailChimp, but I believe only in MailChimp in the UK. And what I'm really interested from what you said is the stewardship bit and the responsible AI principles, because earlier this week, FYI released what they were going to be doing in their platform regarding AI and how they were building that out over the course of the rest of 2024. And most of it was about data security, making sure your data was secure, how you were interacting with it. And although they were not building an AI tool, they were piggybacking off a ChatGPT style tool. The way the data was being shared meant that everything that was sensitive was staying entirely in your platform. And then they were sharing out prompts, etc., externally. And I thought that was a really good concept, the way they were working with it. And I'm excited to see where they go with that. So let's hope more of the Intuit AI tools appear in the UK over the rest of 2024. I have a number of releases from ApprovalMax. Big release from them following the release of Capture and Pay earlier in the year is they've now brought in reviews before approving. So ApprovalMax built around approvals, but there's always this step where maybe the finance team just want to check allocations before it goes on through a formal approval process. This is what they've done with reviews. So historically, I guess people would add an approval step, which was for the finance team to have a look and make some changes. The review step now enables, I guess, that element. The quick check, reallocating things the right direction. So firstly, is the flow going to the right person? Does there need to be any revisions, or does it need to go back to, I guess, the supplier if it's an invoice? Do you need to customize the routing? So break, I guess, the automated approval to go to someone else because of a very specific flow in it. But I think it's a good step. I think it's something that's been used in ApprovalMax for a while, but hasn't actually been named a review. And technically, that's what you're doing. So yeah, I think it's a good step by ApprovalMax there. We've then got how to merge bills. So going on from the capture element, they've now released the ability to merge bills from the same supplier into a single transaction, reducing your load into zero. So something when this was released by ApprovalMax initially was that you could have line items turned on, but it had to be on for everything, and you couldn't really turn it off. So if you had a large volume of transactions, push it into zero may create a huge burden on zero. The ability to merge now reduces that burden. And then finally, if you've not seen this, I think this is a really helpful part that's in ApprovalMax. You've got the ability to create a line item accrual report inside ApprovalMax and then export it as a manual journal. So tracking any accruals that you need to do through those purchase orders, anything that you're going to, that relates to a period you've not received the invoice for, you can create a report inside ApprovalMax and then push a button that essentially creates a journal, push it for review, and then you can push it directly into your finance system. And that's something I've never come across and is an incredibly powerful feature and something that should be talked about more. So if you're using ApprovalMax, check it out. There's a help guide online. It says how to create a line item accrual report, and it's very powerful. Please do explore it further.
Yeah, I think that last feature is really, really interesting, Ryan, isn't it? And like you say, it's not something you see in many other products, probably in the ERP space, but not certainly in the sort of Xero QuickBooks ecosystem. space. And of course, they've always had that ability to accrue based on purchase orders previously. But adding that now into the line items and invoices is really cool. And I think for me, that's probably one of the biggest questions that we get from some of our clients when we've implemented Xero. It's like, how do we do prepayments and accruals more easily and more effectively in Xero QuickBooks? So great to see that come in. I have a couple of updates from Cin7. They have just released a couple of key features and key integrations. So the first one is perhaps unsurprisingly about AI, but as a consequence of the acquisition, which we previously talked about on the pod a few weeks ago of Inventoro, they now have the ability to build out some additional AI functionality into Cin7, and they've called it Cin7 Foresight AI, and they're effectively building into the product to enable you to enhance sort of the inventory management and order management capabilities. So you'd be able to do more intelligent predictions and optimization. So I guess those kind of key things, especially if you're managing a warehouse or managing items that perhaps have like long lead times, is being able to sort of say, right, okay, well, we might run out of this product in, say, in a couple of weeks, and so we need to get it on reorder because it'll take 3 weeks to get into the country, for example. So there's a whole bunch of things that allow you to forecast that demand and then more accurately maintain stock levels at an optimal point, and hopefully as well reduce the risk of having too much stock, because of course that's also an issue in terms of holding too much and it costing you money. And they've got in the press release, they've got an example of one of their clients where they did some work with them, and the company saw a 10% sales boost with the implementation of their smart forecasting capabilities, and saves around about 50% of their time that was previously spent on receiving goods and allocating those into the system. They've also got some additional features that are expected to come out because they've got a summit coming up in the not too distant future in Denver, which is around intelligent document recognition. So this is the ability to scan in purchase orders and get that information out through OCR. Again, great little time saving, a good opportunity, because again, that's something that in that kind of operating system model of apps that we see is trying to get OCR into those products can be quite difficult. There's also Cin7 Pay, which is exactly what it says on the tin, and then Cin7 Capital as well, so allowing business owners to tap into funding sources to help with their business. And then the second update or integration that's come about is a partnership with Airwallex, which is designed specifically for Cin7 integrated into Xero. And this effectively adds a pay now button onto invoices as they go through Cin7 and obviously get passed through to Airwallex for payment. And again, I guess for a lot of Cin7 users, they're going to be using multi-currency. There's a lot of 3PL businesses that use Cin7. So this is going to be a real interest for them in terms of making that a little bit more seamless in terms of its approach. And it also means, again, that from the sort of operating process of managing payments, previously with Cin7, you would have had to manage that through Xero on the payments integrations in Xero, which means you're handing off an invoice that you might have raised in Cin7 into Xero to then send out. And that doesn't always work well from a workflow point of view from a business. So there you go.
Yeah, well, I think Airwallet's been doing really well with partnering recently. They've been looking for a lot of strategic partners and building in. I've got a question though. They've this new ability to capture purchase orders and turn them into sales orders inside Cin7. They're called intelligent document recognition. Why is it not just OCR? Why is it not optical character recognition? Why is it something now that's got a different name?
Because it doesn't sound cool enough. That's why, right?
That's what I was thinking. Have they just gone, well, OCR's old school. We want to make this sound new. And so they've just called it IDR. I'm just wondering.
IDR is the new OCR, right?
No, we should call everything IDR.
Something from one of our sponsors, from Allica Bank, who has entered the bridging market with the acquisition of Tuscan Capital. Allica, who launched a few years back, has its banking license and has also recently acquired Tuscan Capital, which is a specialist bridge finance lender. Previously had acquired Allied Irish Banks, which was a loan book of around 600 million spread across 2,000 customers. And it looks like they're making another strategic purchase. It's already shored up a lot of lending to the tune of around 2 billion to established businesses. since it launched. And this looks like another marketed step into advancing money to businesses across the UK. Seems like it was a decent acquisition, but doesn't say the amount that the loan book is worth. However, they do have a head of bridging who was recruited, who is spearheading its bridging distribution strategy. Justin Schaus, who was Director of Structured Property Finance at Lend Invest, has now come over to Allica and will be working on more of that. I imagine looks like a good acquisition for Tuscan, and there's a team that has come over by the look of it, and it will go a long way to support and accelerate the work that's already been done in terms of lending on bridging to businesses in the UK.
Yeah, how quickly can one business grow? They were the fastest growing UK business at one point, and now they're buying others, and they've only been out. They've only been released for a little while. It's insane how fast they've been growing.
Yeah, but they do have their full banking license, and I guess that when you buy a loan book, which was, like I said, in 2021, there was 2,000 customers already that came as part of that. So there will be several refinancing agreements that would have taken place from that book of customers that came across to Allica. And also, as they have a current account product, at that point probably only acquired a loan book and have since migrated more of those customers over to the current account that they provide. They've also done some really great work in the space in terms of interest-bearing accounts. And let's not forget that they've managed to also speed up or dramatically reduce the lead time to get commercial property loans agreed. So I think actually this just speaks to the fact that they're very good at financial structuring, and they've had a good windfall behind them, because perhaps there's not enough neobanks in that space that have been able to take those businesses that Barclays had let go of maybe a year ago, just partly because of the AML provisions had changed, and the KYB around that was quite difficult for Barclays. So I think they've had a bit of a success then, picking up businesses who've had more than one director and turn over a few million in the UK, and that is their heartland. So the fact that they've now picked up another acquisition of something that's, again, short-term lending, to me just signals that that's the way that the market needs to move, and it needs to invest more in short-term financing in general, because I think that that's still a squeezed space, and there's not enough money being advanced to SMEs on a short-term basis.
So we're back with Paul Sparks from iplicit, and we're diving into an area that I'm quite passionate about, because we're talking about data migrations and the challenges and sometimes benefits of doing this. But one of the big things that I find is that for, I guess, the smaller financial systems, there's a lot of choice. You do advances, you can use some pre-programmed tools to kind of lift and shift your historic data, or you've even got some consultants that are really good in this space, such as Florentina from DAS Dorset. But the mid-tier space is a challenge, at least from what I've encountered. Is this something that when you're talking to your prospects or clients, Paul, that you come across?
It's one of their number one concerns. It's one of the reasons why they are worried about even making such a change, Ryan. So 100%, it is a big concern. And it was such a clear message that we got from the market right from our launch of iplicit back in 2019. We specifically, architected features in our software to address it.
Yeah, and I guess you've got multiple aspects that are a big worry, isn't it? You've got the compliance aspect, like you've got to keep our data for 7 years. You've got, I've got that supplier customer that may have a question, like, how are we ever going to know that? Do I have to dig through old data? And you've got the thing of just going reporting, like, okay, I want to compare what I've done in this year compared to prior years. How do we look at it all? So how do you kind of resolve that, or try to resolve these areas at iplicit?
Yeah, so like I said, we specifically designed a feature in iplicit to help make that a much easier task. And this feature is called Archive Data. It facilitates the ability for people to take data from their old system in the current format of chart of accounts and so on, and just import them into a specialist archive repository, which is held within iplicit. So even though they're using their new system, they can still search for old transactions, find old suppliers. They could effectively show all the transactions which are on which particular VAT return. So they hit the compliance area by achieving that as well. So yeah, it's quite unique, and it's something that really changes the landscape. And of course, one of the other big factors is that a number of other providers will charge a right to use license for them to carry on using their old software, and it's not insignificant in many cases. Whereas using this feature with our software, because the transactions are there and they can report, they actually can achieve that result and have no need to have a right to use.
And is that something you charge for? Is there a fee for the repository side, or is it something that's kind of absorbed into the monthly subscription? How does that work?
There is a fee, and it depends upon the number of legal entities that they're doing it for. But it's kind of realistically just to sort of cover the cost of the data storage that's associated with it. It's not significant. There's a bit of time around just the data mapping that's involved, but if you consider that versus in many cases that ongoing cost to pay for a license from another provider, it's
notably
not really
cheaper.
anything. Yes, significantly.
Yeah, no, I understand that. And so I guess that solves a couple of areas. How do you get around the reporting aspect? Say that you've got seasonal reporting and they want to look year on year. Do you bring in, I guess, historic moving trial balances? Is that something that
It's exactly what we do. It's exactly what we do. Yeah. So basically, you post effectively a TB for each period over the last 3-5 years, whatever you want to do, and that way you can then have your comparative figures there as well.
Brilliant. Yeah, I mean, that's what we do in I guess, some of the smaller platforms as well. It can be notably easier, especially if you have to remap chart of accounts. Doing that just with trial balance rather than individual transactions. So when you're moving the stuff into the repository, is it all from like Excel exports, or do you kind of plug into certain systems? How does that work?
It's a mix. So some systems, we have some native connectors that will take us in and be able to bring that through. Other systems will take an export from their data. So they're typically the ability to do an export of all certain types of transactions and bring them through accordingly.
No, that makes sense. And I assume this is something that your team, as part of that whole onboarding process, can help with, and the consultants that you work alongside.
We do, and here's a little a little gem that we introduced that really helps, is that there's a lot of pressure around system migration time on all the people involved. Time is short, and this often represents a real worry and a concern for people. But the way we've architected this is that you can actually do it after the event. So you focus on going live with what you need, and then once that's done and you've got what you need and you're operational, everything's good, then you can say, all right, let's go back and get that archive data and get it put through now inside the system, so I can then switch off the old one. So not having to do all of it as part of one block piece of work makes a huge difference.
Yeah, I've been doing so many data migrations, and I know the pain. And if something goes awry, like something affects the delivery on a date, it can throw every other timeline out. So the ability to reduce the amount of things you have to do in that go live date is incredibly helpful. And look, when I guess look around this the marketplace, I don't really see many software providers doing what you've described. Is this pretty unique?
My understanding is it is unique at this stage. Yeah, most other providers, you'd have to put that data in as like any other piece of normal data, and that then means in order to get it into a status, if you're changing your chart of accounts or the way in which you do your different dimensions, which most people do when they're looking to revisit a system. I mean, if you're upgrading from an entry-level system, probably one of the driving reasons will be because you want better analysis, which means you're definitely going to reorganize your chart of accounts, et cetera, et cetera. So in order to bring in data to other systems, what we hear is that they have to then get the raw data, then recode all of it inside a spreadsheet or whatever, which is prone to errors and a lot of time-consuming work.
Yeah, look, I know that one of the big things that I talk when I talk to clients is they go, nah, we don't really trust a lot of our historic data. We probably need it for reference, but actually we don't really want to see it anymore. So the ability to hive that out into an area that they can get access to, but isn't part of their core data set, it's a big win. Look, I think this it's a really interesting take, a really interesting approach that you've got when doing this. And yeah, it's something that I think I'd like to see from more vendors open up over time. So no, thanks, Paul, for running through this with us.
So I'm joined by Chris Downing, my absolute favourite.
you can't get enough of double downing. You're up for Digital Deity of the Year award, and I have to admit, I put you in there twice.
Thank you very much. Well, it was just me and my clone, and that's how we delivered MTD awareness last year, wasn't it?
I know that there's a day downing and a night downing,
Yeah.
and to be honest with you, I just thought that both needed to get a shout out.
Well, thank you very much.
And I was
Very much
gutted.
honoured.
I was gutted that you didn't win it, to be honest with you. I'm gutted still because you are a gent. Like, that Ditchwater Award was probably the most controversial in the industry, as you can imagine. And the fact that you go up there, you just can't bypass Chris. Because you went up there, and absolutely everyone this evening has said to me, "Ow."
That's very kind
Say,
of you.
you are a credit to
Thank you
Sage.
very much. Thank you very much. Well, I'm just doing my job, and I enjoy what I do. And at the end of the day, we're just full of a room of accountants, and even in technology, who are actually probably most of our accountants. We all recognise the fact that life brings its challenges, but it's all about rising above them and seeing any challenges as an opportunity. And I think it's a case of actually how we work forward, how we work in the community, and also all the great things that Sage are doing is really, really powerful. And also the fact that we're going through a very exciting year. 2024 isn't just about AI, it's about how accountants and bookkeepers are leading the way and change. We're ahead of that little thing called MTD happening, 380 working days or so.
And the thing is that Sage has made so many acquisitions over the last 2 years. Like the way that Sage has changed the face of accounting by at least realizing that there's big leaps to be made in terms of technology. They have at least had a strategy when it comes to acquiring different parts of the accounting tech ecosystem.
I think it's one of the great things about Sage. We perform the research, we understand what the needs of accountants and bookkeepers are, we listen to them intently, and also it's a case of recognising what we should build, what we should buy, and who we should partner with to deliver the best possible experience. And when you think the majority of accountants and bookkeepers firms in the UK are literally sole practitioners, only employing just 1 or 2 people, they need an amazing platform, the ability to access and view all their client data, the ability to price, the ability to actually manage their client portfolio, be on top of the compliance, and also think about the future. And the future is AI. And actually bringing that AI in the theme of work, which enables them to work alongside their clients, create capacity so they can do what they love and what they enjoy.
Wow. It's spoken like a true it's spoken like a true nominee deity. And the fact is that we were talking earlier in the bar just before we came down about how, like, if you are of a certain generation and you really want to own your own business, spend 1 week with this gentleman. Because if you can spend a week with this gentleman in the way that you spend your week and deliver and learn, I will invest happily in that.
Every day's a school day.
individual.
That's my philosophy. You're always learning.
You are on the road, you are out the door at 3 a.m. this morning and then up to Edinburgh this week, right?
Yeah, Edinburgh and Glasgow, and then back down south again.
And the fact is that you came all the way up from Somerset to Caltex. And that's not even an unusual week for you.
Standard, yeah.
So, to be honest with you, you are like levels above this industry in so many ways. So it's such a pleasure to have you here tonight. And although we never mentioned you specifically on like the influencer stage, I would say that like you are an influencer. You've got a little bit quieter though this last 1 year. Why?
I've just taken a bit of time out, had a break for the summer. And really it's all about what we're doing now over the next 6 to 12 months. And therefore it's bringing to life the fact that the industry, the profession is changing, it's evolving. It's intrigued by what AI can bring to the profession, so it's bringing that to life in a practical manner, which I've been showcasing in some of my presentations, but also getting the profession ready for MTD as well, because it is actually going to be one of the biggest legislation changes to hit the market, and it is happening. And this is why the whole point is so important to get behind in terms of actually understand how accountants and bookkeepers should be ready, and the fact that the value of their practice will improve if they are more digitised. And this is what Sage is a trusted partner will help do that as well.
So what I feel like you're telling me though in this final statement is that next year there might be 3 Chris Downings
3?
nominated.
Is that possible?
There's an AI version.
Have you seen my avatar?
I don't know. I'm going to train the LLM tonight,
Okay, yeah.
to be honest. And we're gonna learn about the credits and debits shuffle on the dance floor.
Very much so. Well, maybe not tonight, yeah.
Not tonight.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us,
No worries.
and we're really glad to see you take it like a champ, and hopefully we can take down some of the temperature of people that were really scared they were going to win the Ditchwater Award. So well done.
You should never be scared of anything.
Never be scared.
No.
Hi, we are joined today by Vipul, who is the CEO of AdvanceTrack. AdvanceTrack just sponsored one of the Digital Disruptor Awards that was for the evening. Vipul, it was the Disruptor of the Year Award, I believe.
Yeah, so yeah, it's great being here tonight.
Thank you for joining us. And then we wanted to be able to reach out and talk to you about how you felt the evening went and why in particular you've chosen to support us on this awards event amongst our many shenanigans.
Yeah, the evening's been fantastic, and in terms of why we're sponsoring the podcast and the awards, it's because we do want people to hold our industry to task, and the fact that you guys do that is an important. I'm trying to think of the right words, it will come to me. But I think it's really important that that happens. And I don't like it when people are just patted on the back just because you hand over a bit of money. And the fact that you kind of question what they're doing. And actually, I know you're there to help and you're part of the ecosystem, but John and Ryan also use a lot of the products. And therefore, it's really important that there's real users that are holding them to the fire. So I think that's a great reason why we're involved.
It's been excellent to have you on board as like one of our key sponsors, and also because you have so many relationships within this space. You've been in it now for how many years, Vipul?
21 years.
It's gone I bet it's gone like a snap of a finger.
Yeah, when I started I had a full head of black hair, and what's left is no longer black.
No, it's not going to comment. No comment. But to be honest with you, it's really great to see the innovations that you're bringing about as AdvanceTrack, and you are on the cusp of launching something new. So can you tell us a little bit more about what it is that you're launching in this space?
Yeah, absolutely. So, when you are a 21-year-old business and you're recognized as one of the leaders, there's always a target on your back. So you always have to look at yourself and say, can we do what we're doing better? And so, and this year, I don't know if anyone's had the chance to download our Accounting Talent Index, but as I was reading it this year, I was like, actually, there's this way that we've been delivering work for nearly 2 decades that's worked really well, it's technology-led, but there's actually a variation on that, and what we call it is pod sourcing. So it allows firms to take entire teams, multi-skilled, multi-tiered, and that will allow them to build their own outfit in our offices in India, but support them to deliver better service for their customers and clients. So
that's really interesting. So does that mean that they can choose different levels of who sits within the pod? Is that what it's called? That in effect you could choose multiple different seniority of employees who would sit in one pod. And is that pod then, how is that pod measured in terms of their success as a unit or as individuals?
It's as a unit. It's very much, it's like any football team, cricket team, it's the scores on the board. That's what it is, and they collectively help each other. But the biggest reason for us doing it is it's an ability to have the youngsters come in, much younger, and what it allows them is to learn the skills on the job, and it's a much more like every firms are set up. They're typically set up as pods, and I say this for effect, but when I left EY, shock horror, they didn't fall apart. And the reason they didn't fall apart is because there was a pod. I was just a cog in it. And so what happened is somebody either stepped up into the role that I vacated, or someone was brought in to fill that hole. But it's the way every firm, every successful professional firm is set up. And so why wouldn't we do that? And it allows them not to be stuck at any level. Their performance will enable them to reach right to the top. So that's really exciting for me.
Can the pod be focused on a specific area, or do they have to focus on, are they able to introduce new service lines that did not exist before, and therefore specialize in one service line that perhaps the firm is not not currently offered to their clients?
Okay, well, we've already got some firms using the pods, and what it's allowed them to have is that multidisciplinary piece. So what we've got is youngsters that are coming in. They might start in bookkeeping, but they're actually saying, oh, can we do exams and can we go into accounts? And well, because they're in that pod that has that multi-skill piece, they're absolutely able to do that. And, I'm hoping, I may not be running it in 20 years' time, somebody else will, but these youngsters will have that opportunity to be the leaders in the future. So I'm very excited by that.
I think this sounds like a really great way of being able to harness talent better, and also to be able to upscale very quickly without having to make so many big capex or salary commitments. And in effect, if you're running something that is a global team, this allows you to, bolt on as and when you have the need to enter a new jurisdiction or enter a new service line.
Yeah. So what we're seeing is that those pods will train the new additions, and so that's going to mean that onboarding's faster, and clients actually have less of the management on a day-to-day basis, and it's up to the group to actually onboard the youngsters, if that is indeed the case, or just the new team members, and that'll allow them to deliver that wider range of services. So yeah, that's absolutely where we see it going.
Sounds like a really great way of de-risking an operation and being able to scale. So we're really excited to see how that launches for you, and I'm sure we'll hear about it on an upcoming podcast at some point.
That's great. Thank you so much.
Thanks for joining us.
Cheers.
Right, there we have it. There's another episode of the Digi-Tools and Accrual World Podcast. Thank you, of course, as always, to tuning in, to listening to the updates, the interviews, and the news that we always have for you. Of course, we would love for you to provide us with feedback, so please do rate us, subscribe, provide any feedback directly to us if you want to, and tell all of your accounting and audit friends and anyone else in the technology industry that you might be interested. And make sure you listen out for the next episode, which will be dropping into your streams in the next week or so. Thanks very much.